I was 6 when I watched him go to court to fight over him, but he wouldn't stay. I was 7 when he left. It was the first and only time I cried at school, and it was the first day of 2nd grade. I cried because the bus was empty when I got on. I cried because the backyard was barren when I got home. I cried because my brother was gone. He was my whole life as a kid, and suddenly, he wasn't there. We would play in the backyard for hours, watch TV until I had to go to bed, and he would never, ever let me win a single competition. But I would have given anything to lose in mini basketball for the 50 millionth time, if it would only bring my brother back. He went to go live with his father in Philadelphia, and I couldn't help but think it was all my fault. It had to be my fault. I was too annoying, or I told on him too many times, or it didn't matter. He was gone, and there was nothing I could do about it. I still saw Colton from time to time, usually on the major holidays, but it was almost as if we weren't really brothers anymore. He was just like one of the many cousins I reunited with every so often. He was 14 when he left, and I thought he was still 14 for the next 3 years. It seemed to me like he had frozen in time, stuck in a still shot of him walking out the front door with his bags. I soon found the only way to cope with my guilt was to forget about him entirely. I refused to think of him because it only ever made me miss him and become angry at myself. So, I stopped caring. During the reunions in the following years, he would hug me excitedly when he saw me, but I couldn't reciprocate. It was too painful. It was too hard. In 5th grade, I was sitting at the round table at my middle school cafeteria while my friends bragged about how much their older brothers would pick on them. It became almost like a contest. One story even ended with someone's older brother tying them to a chair and pushing them down the stairs. Although I didn't really believe that one. But oddly enough, it made me miss when Colton used to pick on me. It reminded me that I had someone like this in my life. Not to push me down the stairs necessarily, but to toughen me up a little. To make me a man. But I just had to give him a chance. So I decided that I wanted that relationship back, whether or not we were under the same roof. I had accepted what had happened. I was sick of feeling sorry for myself, and I wanted my brother back. Now every time I would see him, I would jump up into his arms as if I hadn't seen him in years. The sad times were over, and even though I still didn't see him often, I made the most out of every second we had together. It wasn't like he still didn't beat me up when I asked him any questions, or as if he let me win at anything. I mean, besides, that's what older brothers are for. And I didn't care about anything, because everything I had missed for so many years was finally back, even if it was just every so often. But in the back of my mind, there was a guilt that lingered, a feeling that I was responsible for everything that had happened between us. 2 years ago, I was sitting on the beach with my brother, and I finally asked him, "Why did you leave?" I was expecting him to hold back his answer and attempt to conceal that the fault was actually mine, but he delved into a side of the story that I had never heard. I never realized how hard it was for my older brother and sister as kids. They lived in a house with a man that wasn't their dad and a mom who hated their father. I was naive in thinking that everything was all right for them. I was oblivious to all the therapy sessions he was forced to go to in order to talk about his so-called anger problem, which in reality was only a hatred for his own childhood. I didn't have to endure the 2.5-hour car rides they took every weekend to go to Philadelphia, and I didn't have to live in a city that wasn't my own, in a house that I couldn't call home. I'd lived my childhood in a world that I thought was perfect, while my own brother and sister lived in a world they thought they could never escape. This story changed my life. I now understood what had taken place 9 years earlier. I understood all the tears, the fights, and the court cases. I understood my brother's reason for wanting to leave. He never wanted to leave me. He just wanted his own life. And a place he could truly call home. A weight was lifted from my shoulders, and I had an entirely different respect for Colton, because I finally knew that there was more to the story than I could have possibly believed. My brother and I have come a long way since then. We talk to each other almost every day now, usually about irrelevant things, but it doesn't bother me that we end up talking about Premier League soccer or the newest horror movie. Our bond is stronger than it has ever been. It's stronger because of the adversity we faced. It's stronger because we accept that we aren't full brothers, but we refuse to act like anything less. It's stronger because of love. There was a period in my life when I didn't think I loved my brother. I'd given up on him, for I thought that I was the reason that he left and that he didn't love me. But I was wrong, and I lost all those years. I can only blame myself for that, because when I was giving up on him, I was giving up on myself. So I urge you all, to never let yourself abandon your faith in someone, because it will only lead to regret. So instead, ask the questions with the answers you don't think you want to hear, because they may just change your world. When I did, I regained someone I thought I had lost forever. I love you, Colton, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
There isn't a moment in my day when my mind isn't racing. I'm always thinking about things I'm going to say, things I have to do, or the next time my dorm parent's going to remind me to clean my room. My mind is just constantly going, especially right before bed, which is the worst possible time. I'll be about to fall asleep, and then I'll remember an awkward moment from the 3rd grade and be like, well, looks like I'm not sleeping tonight. Although having constant racing thoughts prevents sleep, causes stress, makes it harder to focus, and causes an incredible amount of anxiety, it's not too bad. The only time it gets bad is when those racing thoughts turned into overanalyzed racing thoughts. That's when it starts going downhill. Hey, Emma, you did a great job. Wait, do they mean I actually did a good job? Or are they just saying that as a common courtesy? Were they being sarcastic? Did they say that because I messed up that whole section of my speech? Emma, chill. They just mean you did good. Oh, thanks. During every conversation I have, my mind is like this, even when I'm talking to my closest friends. I remember talking to my best friend the first time we met, and she asked me where I was from. This question especially stresses me out. Does she mean where I live, where I was born, where I've lived the longest, where I feel most at home? I'm from New York. No Massachusetts, no Connecticut, no Maine, no Vermont, no, well, I'm moving soon, but I guess I'm from Colorado. Then she said, wait, you're not from Colorado then? So I asked her where she thought I was from. And she said, you're not really from anywhere. I mean, it was kind of true. I guess I wasn't from anywhere. I was from nowhere. I've lived on 6, going on 7 states, switched schools 8 times, and every couple of years, my world changes and I always have to find new friends, join new classes, and be thrown into a new and different environment. Now, I'm not saying I don't enjoy that. It's kind of nice to being able to have a new surrounding and be from different places. But the gaining new friends part, that's tricky. By now, one would think I'd be fine at making friends, but actually it's gotten harder, especially for an outgoing introvert. You know that long, awkward time between meeting someone and becoming friends with them where they don't really get your sense of humor, but you think they will? Or when you have to sit at a table with all their friends and just stare at your food, nodding at what people say, pretending to laugh because you don't want to seem like an emotionless weirdo. I've experienced that way too much. And I would like to have the least amount of awkwardness possible in my life, but if you skip this part, it turns out things just become more awkward. So I'm stuck between my biggest fear on both ends of this awkward-infested spectrum. What do I do? A few days back, I was talking to someone and they said, you know, you look like an Emma. I don't know if you know this, but there are a small amount of people in the world with the name Emma. So, for once, instead of jumping to conclusions, I replied, well, I hope so. You know how sometimes when people say that, they also have another person with your name in mind, like, hey, you look like a Hannah, meaning, hey, I have a friend named Hannah, and you guys are extremely similar. Well, I'm an Emma. I'm impatient. I'm anxiety-filled. I never clean my room. Every day I order a wild berry smoothie from the can. Ski team is my life. I only order clothes from Forever 21. I strongly dislike sandwiches. I am a huge procrastinator, and I am an incredibly awkward person who strongly dislikes awkward situations, so yeah. I guess I kind of look like an Emma, and I'm not really from anywhere, and my mind is always racing, but I like it. Thank you.
As a child, the one lesson I took most to heart was to be kind. No matter how I was treated, I was to care about the people around me, to show them kindness. So, when a girl in my class told me, Anna Ochta, I'm gonna punch you, and proceeded to hit the wall behind me, causing her knuckles to bleed, I walked her to the nurse's office. While walking her there, I wrapped her hand in my scarf and happily told her, by the way, my name is Hannah Octera, but you can call me Anna Ochta if you like. Being this way, I never really understood why people got angry or held grudges, and I was often overly forgiving. I tended to feel guilt for things that were out of my control, or for people who got in trouble revolving around me. Like when a girl got caught stealing my holographic Togepi card, I apologized to her. And for the boy who cheated off my spelling test, I wanted to be in trouble with you as well. I just wanted everyone to be happy, no matter what price I had to pay. And of course, all that was fine and dandy when the prices were small things like skipping a recess or giving up a snack. But as I grew older, the prices got higher. I went from someone who was seen as kind to being a pushover. The first time my pushover way of life really took a toll on me, I was living in Hawaii in the 5th grade. I was switching between my parents' houses and can remember sitting on the couch at my mother's house when my mother and brother approached me to talk about something that, as my brother said, might shake me up a bit. This was the first time I became aware my father is a drug addict. He's always had a lingering issue with drug abuse, but that year it had gotten worse. I remember crying, not because I wasn't allowed to see my father until he could prove to be drug-free, but because of the hurt it had caused all my family, my father included. I spent the next few months trying to be perfect, as to not add to the tidal wave of issues my family had going on. I told my father I forgave him for everything, that I didn't mind being forgotten at school and having to take the public bus home, that I liked belated birthday cards more than timely ones, that I was okay skipping practice because he was too high to drive. My brother Jack, on the other hand, was struggling. When my mother told him we were moving back to the mainland so he could attend boarding school and she could be married, Jack ran away. The both of them struggled to stay afloat, and I, at 11 years old, chose to be their rock. I needed them to be happy, no matter how tired or broken I felt. The move to Maryland wasn't easy, but I would have never told my mother that. We were moving in with my now stepfather Dalton and his 2 children, Mary Pat and Harrison. When we first moved, I was so excited because Mary Pat is my age, and for the first time in a while, I'd finally have someone I would know on my first day at a new school. But it wasn't all so simple. Mary Pat hated me more than anything. She blamed my mother and I for her parents' divorce and constantly reminded me of it. So, on the second Wednesday of my first year at middle school, I got chased by a group of kids Mary Pat told to beat me up because of what I'd done to her in her life. But even with scratches covering my face, I couldn't reciprocate the behavior Mary Pat had shown towards me. Instead, I opened my arms to her when she cried. My closet was her second. I did whatever she asked of me, ranging from homework to chores, and if I ever dared to snap in the slightest, I apologized profusely, taking all the blame on myself. All the while, I tried to keep a good relationship with my father, who often blamed me for my absence, telling me that I did not love him, no matter what I did to show or prove my affection. When he told me that I was the root of his addiction, because drugs gave him more happiness than I ever could, I begged for forgiveness, wishing I could be a better daughter. About a month into school, my mom signed me up for a program called Girls on Track. It was a program designed to make young women feel like strong, independent females. The description itself was enough to make me want to vomit. Yet, because I didn't want my mother to worry about me, and staying at home and swimming in my own loneliness or doing Mary's chores, I agreed to go. It was through this hour-long program after school on Mondays and Fridays that I met my best friends and discovered I really love granola bars. Although the lessons were cheesy, there was one point we'd often talk about I'd ponder while walking home. You can't live your life for someone else. You've got to factor yourself into the equation of happiness. One day, after Girls on Track, I came home to Mary having not done her chores, and yet another text from my father apologizing again for calling while not in the right state of mind. It hadn't been a particularly different day, but I was feeling like a different me. I didn't want to do Mary's chores, nor did I feel the need to baby my father and tell him that everything was all right when it wasn't. I wanted someone to lend me a hand. I wanted someone to tell me that everything was going to be okay. And because I'd been this person for everyone else in my life for so long, why not be here for myself? So I told Mary to do her chores. I told my dad that even though he'd apologized, he hadn't fixed over a year's worth of cracks in our relationship. Looking back on this moment, I've never felt stronger or prouder. So even though after this I was still a pushover, I still am one. But each day I worked on balancing others' happiness and my own. I learned how to be kind to others without denying myself joy. It's been 4 years. 4 years since I first stood up to Mary Pat, 4 years since I first told my dad our relationship wasn't all right. Since then, Mary's gone from someone I used to want to hide from to someone I'd really like to see more often. And as for my dad, well, he and I may not have the best relationship, but I don't blame myself for his addiction, nor do I let it weigh me down. And for my cherished childhood lesson, I still like the idea of showing everyone kindness. It's just now, everyone includes myself. Thank you.
Who am I, and with what group do I identify? Well, to kick things off, I'm a sister. My siblings are my friends, but my friends are anything but. Some of the best conversations I've had were with my siblings. I remember my brother used to rank my sisters and me according to who the better sister was. We all kind of just laughed because his ranking changed every day. Sometimes he wouldn't even rank us. He said it was pointless. We were all good that day. But I love my siblings. They know how to make me laugh or how to piss me off just enough and make me feel like I belong to something real. My siblings are the best friends that I have, so that makes me a sister and a friend. But as I struggle to bring more of my thoughts to my lips, I realize I'm more than just a sister or a friend. Have you ever heard the term, be a lover, not a fighter? Well, in my case, I am both. First, I am a lover, and this, depending on who you are, can be a good quality or a bad one. In my opinion, it's the latter. To be a lover requires attention, patience, and security, as in self-security, not bodyguards, although that'd be pretty cool. To be a lover, you can't be afraid of rejection. When something or someone you love tells you otherwise and makes you feel like you're less than you really are, you can't think, oh, it was my fault, it was something I did. You have to remain confident. To me, this is one of the hardest things to do because confidence is a quality that I ultimately lack. I'm also a fighter, not physical, unless with my siblings, then yes, it's absolutely physical. But mentally, I fight with myself over every decision I make, and sometimes when I don't have a friend at the moment or my siblings are asleep, the only person I can fight with is myself. This is when being a fighter is lethal. So I'm a lover and I'm a fighter, and next I'm an enemy to myself. I mean, think about it. Nobody can hate me more than I can. Jagged around the edges, my body shows everything I've thought about myself since I was in the 5th grade. With words sharper than razor blades, mean comments cut into my mind and leave scars that I hide away. Sometimes I don't talk to anyone for a few days, and I think Mae West said it best when she said, I'd rather be looked over than overlooked. I'd rather someone ask me how I'm doing instead of leaving me alone because I look upset. I am not okay. Please, please ask me if I am okay. Because are you okay are 3 words that could be the difference between a solution and self-destruction. These days hurt the most, the ones where I fight with myself. I fight about what I ate the night before, how it was too many calories. I don't even know what a calorie is. How I said the stupidest thing to a cute boy, or I get mad at myself because I was doing so well, and cutting myself should have never been the answer, but I did it anyway. But we all go back on our promises at some point, don't we? The promise to be happy or the promise to stop. It's like swearing off smoking or something, things we say to ourselves to make it seem like we're okay, even if we're not. I'm proud to say that I haven't gone back on my promise since the beginning of my freshman year, but it goes to show that I am my own enemy, because when people put me down, I agree. They have the guts to trash talk me when I don't even have the guts to admit it to myself. People have said their fair share of mean things about me, and I'm sure people have much more to say, and maybe I'll never hear the end of it. But when these things come back to me, I think, are they right? Maybe I am a selfish bitch, or yeah, maybe nobody will ever love me because I'm bigger than the other girls in my grade and I don't look the way my friends do. This crosses my mind more than once each day, and I think I'm starting to realize that my brother's system of ranking is the same way our society functions. Who's better? Who's prettier? From best to worst? Where do we fall on the scheme of things? I mentioned some days my brother wouldn't rank us. He felt it was pointless. He said we were all good. Why doesn't our society realize that yet, that we're all good? Who knew a 9-year-old could be so smart? Who am I to everyone else? Well, who am I to myself? I can't care about everyone else's opinions about me and not my own. Even if I am my own worst enemy, I'm also my own best friend. Nobody can truly help me but me, so I try to be on good terms with myself. So yes, I am big, but I happen to use this word as a self-descriptor, not to bring myself down or to pity myself. And I certainly don't use it in hopes for somebody to say, oh, no, you're not. I mean, nobody says to the tall kid, you're not tall, and nobody says to Harry Moore, your voice isn't deep, because tall is not a dirty word, and Harry's voice is a part of who he is. These are just qualities. We're programmed to tell each other, oh, you're not fat, because being fat is the worst thing you can be. Nowadays, society has turned the word into a synonym for ugly, but really it just means big. I'm 16 years old, so I call myself a teenager. I have a grandmother, so I call myself a granddaughter. And I wear a size large, so I call myself big. And I am beautiful, so I call myself beautiful, and I am all of those things at once. 3 siblings, a dog, and 2 loving parents. These are facts, things that can be proven. I am happy. Fact will prove it. Just because I'm smiling doesn't mean I'm happy, and just because I laugh at your jokes doesn't mean I'm in a good mood. I have a lot of friends. Prove it. Just because I sit with some people at lunch, no offense, doesn't mean that I'm comfortable being there. And as everyone feels a part of a group and I don't, I'm extremely uncomfortable. In reality, I'm sipping my drink, hoping to get out of there in one piece. I mean, I'm the only one who knows me best. I know my likes, my dislikes, my favorite color, my favorite music, depending on the week, really. And there are so many things that only I know, and even I'm not so sure about them. Nothing is actually definite. I mean, I'm 16 years old, and for 15 and a half of them, I had blonde hair. Things change and people change. So I may be all of these things now, but next month, 5 months from now, a year from now, I could be a completely different person. So though I describe myself as many things, I can't truly identify myself as somebody I may not be in a month or two. I can only really say that I am loved, and that is something that will never change. And if you don't love me, I'll be okay, because somebody else does. And even if the people who love me change, my love for myself, no matter how little of it there may be at the time, will never falter. Thank you.